So we're just looking at learning outcome 3 on the research project today. Now, there are 4 assessment criteria in here. The learning outcome is be able to carry out a research project relevant to a health and social care setting. So 3.1 is develop relevant research questions. 3.2, select appropriate research methods. 3.3, carry out the research. And then 3.4, collate research data. So let's go to here. So like I said, we're just going to go over what type of questions we should pick. Got a couple of websites where you can look at possible research ideas as well, and from there. So when you're looking at developing research topics, so start developing your research questions. Now you've already got a topic that you want to do, so you've done that. Within that topic, maybe narrow it down to something that is more doable, which is easier for you, depending on the time you want to spend on it. So maybe have a sub-task within it. So consider something that's smaller within your original topic. So rather than looking at the effects of fibromyalgia on a particular, say, in everybody in general, maybe look at a particular age group or a particular ethnicity or from there. So list some potential questions that can be logically asked, and once you've narrowed it down. Then the best thing to do is pick the question that you're most interested in, find the one that you have a lot more knowledge about, and then if you want to make it a little bit more interesting, change it slightly so that you can focus it a little bit more. So narrow the topic, think of questions, and then focus the question. Once you have a focused question, you're really able to present a very good piece of research data, because you've got one particular thing that you're focusing on, and it's not going here, there, everywhere. So look at, this is just a couple of research ideas that some are healthcare related, some are not. So we've got research idea, for example, job recruitment via the internet. Then focus that question into saying, how effective is recruiting for new staff via the internet in comparison with traditional methods? Now, I know originally when I was, 16, 17, I used to go to the job centre, look at those folding walls, and they'd have little posts on there in pieces of paper. And I'd be there looking at part-time jobs when I was in high school or in college. But now, all I've got to do is sit on my laptop and look on the internet. So you got to, you know, things have changed. I just digressed there. Then we've got another research idea, so equality and diversity in healthcare. And then a focus question for this could be, what are the strategies that are applied to promote equality and diversity in healthcare settings? So obviously look at policies and procedures and so on, legislations within that. So choose your topic, narrow it down into smaller sections, think of some questions that stem from your topic, and then focus the question so you're not being vague. So when you're doing your research, choose verbs that are like analyze or evaluate or compare and contrast. Try and avoid describe and discuss, because they're too open-ended and there doesn't really leave you much room to maneuver in them. Once you've described a topic, you're done. A couple of paragraphs and that's it. You've got nowhere else to go. Once you've discussed it, you've got no room for judgments, no room for recommendations. So when you're doing a research question, try and have one of these verbs within it. And then again, you've already got a decent question that you want to do. So this part of yours is done. You've already thought of a question that's related to your to healthcare. And then another part here is that when we're doing research questions, they always start with something like why or how, because that's what you were trying to find something out, and then you just sort of like fine tune it from there on. And then we've got just a couple of research ideas, just to give you an idea of how to put down an aim. So we've got a example, an aim, an objective, just to give you an idea of how to set yours out. So this is a research example on UK membership of the EU. So the aim for this would be to determine whether the UK should remain a member of the European Union. And then the objectives of this research were to review the literature on the EU, to evaluate the costs and benefits of EU membership, to conduct primary research into the EU membership, and to make recommendations about the future of the EU membership.
Right. Yeah.
And then we've got potential topics. So you could do, to be honest, not many of these apply to you now because you've got one. So you could have been something like impact of COVID-19, obesity in children, diabetes and its risks, understanding nurse retention, or NHS 111 service.
Yeah.
Then remember to use a conceptual framework. We looked at this the other day based on depression. So yours could be fibromyalgia, and then you could have the offshoots of, because fibromyalgia could be an independent variable, and then you could have offshoots within that. It'll be within that, because of the pain factor, people who suffer from this able to work consistently. Do they have to have care? Does it lead to depression? What sort of offshoots come off with this?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like an analytical tool where you're looking at different variations, different contexts, what actually comes within. So really you're picking your point, your topic, and then you're saying these are the potential effects that could happen with it, or this is what might cause this to happen.
Yeah.
And we've got just in generalized, just show that conceptual framework can work on anything. So you've got academic staff job satisfaction, and all of these to make sure that you do get a job to satisfaction. You're looking at pay, looking at relationship and work stresses, work role stresses, family, and so on. So I think all of these points go in within here.
Yeah.
So that is it for 3.1. Do you have any questions or anything you want to talk about on this?
No, it's a really simple one, to be fair.
Okay. Let's go into 3.2. So again, 3.2 is select research methods. So we're just looking at primary and secondary research. Now to recap, I think we did go over this before. Primary research is fresh research that you conduct for yourself. It's not been done before. It's something that you've chosen a question and you've decided to go out and find information. So you might have made a questionnaire, you might be observing someone, you might have some interview questions and have a number of people coming to you. You might have focus groups or surveys. But again, this is the answers that you can't find anywhere else. This is what you've done. So if I can get this video to work. Copy link. What happens normally when I put videos on, you might not be able to hear the audio, but please let me know if that happens and you can watch it privately yourself. The link is there. So this video, it just shows you what primary research is, to just give you an idea. I think it's about 3 minutes long, so so it's not responding for me at the moment. I think it's just because we're on the video call now. So just give it a moment. So again, all that video shows was how to conduct primary research, why we do it, and how it's done.
Yeah.
And then we got another video for secondary research. Again, it's just explaining from the same people again. It's one of the nicest videos that I've seen in a while for primary and secondary research because they do really explain how it works. Yeah. So secondary research is market reports, journals, data analytics, books, magazines, internet. So secondary research is things that have been already done for you. So any information that you find on your research topics, that is secondary data. So anything that you don't conduct fresh, you might go on the internet, you might look at a YouTube video. Let's see, is that thinking about it? Oh, Fantastic. So, Ashley, can you hear the audio?
No.
Right. So what I'll do is I'll let you watch this video, because if you can't hear the audio from me, when you get a chance, just pop into the Learning Outcome 3 PowerPoint and then just copy the links in. It's just that it gives a very nice fresh output on exactly what these things are and explains it very well. So if they're about 3 minutes each. So if you look at the one for primary and one for secondary, it'll really help you when you're wanting to put down what your research methods were. It's a shame that, because it's happened a few times whenever I play videos, I've had students never be able to hear the audio on that. I'll have to try and sort something out in that aspect.
Bless you.
Oh, let me just, it's still on. There. So going on to 3.3, we're just looking at carrying out the research now. So I'm just going to give you some ideas of how to lay it out. So you've chosen your topic, you know exactly what you're going to do, and this is how we want it done. So you've got your topic, write down what your actual topic is, and then you can split it up into chapters if that makes it easier for you. Put down an introduction, say why you're doing this, what the reason is, put down your aims, and then put down your objective. So have a couple of aims, have a couple of objectives. Chapter 2 will be your literature review. So the first chapter is you just telling me what you're doing, why you're doing it, what your aim is, and what your objectives are. Chapter 2 is a literature review. So don't be worried when I say literature review. This is just you physically writing what your findings are. So I put a little example of the explanation of what it is. So it's just a piece of academic writing, just demonstrating your knowledge and understanding of the academic literature on the topic you've chosen. So this literature review, it also needs a critical evaluation on it. So that is covered, because what you're going to do is you're going to put your own judgments down. You're going to evaluate if what you found is beneficial or not to your research area. And then you're going to put down recommendations. So when it says critical evaluation, these 3 points will cover that. Then for chapter 3, so chapter 2 is you just physically writing out what you found out. Chapter 3, tell me how you did it. So put down the methodology. What did you do? Why have you done it? How did you do it? Did you do primary research or did you do secondary research? So you're physically writing down, I conducted research on the internet, or I went out and I did questionnaires and I focused on a group of 10 people or so on. Was your sample size? So only do the sample size if you've physically gone out and done the primary research. If you know what the sample size is from secondary data, if you've particularly focused on one piece of research that you found is the most beneficial for you, and you know that they use about 20 people, so just include it then. But if you don't know what the sample size is, leave it out. Tell me how you collected your data. That's very similar to primary and secondary section again. So you could write down, I did questionnaires, or I just did internet research. Give us your findings. So in a way, you're just summarizing what you already written about in the literature review, and then put down your recommendations and your judgments. Then put down a conclusion, and then put references in. So that little section, is that okay? About how to, is that clear on how to lay it out?
Yeah, that's fine. I've always got obviously the PowerPoint that I can come back to and look at.
Yes.
If I have any issues.
Brilliant. So we've got a couple of tips on here. So choose your keywords. So make sure you put "and" on it when you're doing your research. So put your keyword down, then put "and" then put down what is you're exactly researching, and it'll narrow it down. Look at articles that are reviewed, so peer reviewed, or see Obviously, with your own knowledge now in this topic, you'll know whether or not it's fake news or real news.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you put down your references, so in case you want to follow up, or to be honest, in reality, it's more for you to be able to reference it and put in your bibliography.
Yeah.
And then make sure you're not conducting because you've got 2 weeks to do this. You've got a full-time job. You've got a full-time life that you want to do. You don't want to be spending 20 hours a week on this. So just do a couple of hours, find where you're comfortable at and work in that aspect.
Yeah.
And then we've got a couple of sites on here. These are secondary based. So if you get a chance, you can go onto these, see if there's anything fibromyalgia based on here already that you can use for there. And then finally, different types of literature that you can access online. Again, this is for primary and secondary. Primary and secondary research is very big in research projects. So you can look at ebooks, articles, journals, reports, and, you know, things like, if you do end up looking at these, check who published it. Is information up to date? Is it about 10 years old or is it quite recent?
Yeah.
What is the source and how accurate is the information? And then finally, we're going on to 3.4. This is the most simple one of all. You're just going to collate your research data. So you've got your research, you've put down a literature review. Now you want to support it by some sort of images or some sort of data. Yeah. So you want a table, a chart, interviews, surveys. On this, I always suggest that add in some images of graphs or tables. Well, I just did a very quick search on COVID-19 and I found a million different tables and charts and graphs that I could include. So just include some images into it. And that's it. That's learning outcome 3.
It's a nice, easy one.
Yes. So we just looked at aims and objectives, primary and secondary research, how to carry the research out and what sort of layout is ideal for it, and then just to put images at the end. So it is, yeah, like you say, it's quite nice and simple and easy. It's not over the top, because at the beginning it did feel like it was a very big undertaking, but it's going to be a lot that's already out there for you, and you can just fine-tune it to suit you. I'll